Greetings. I almost forgot to come on here and talk to you about Samhain this year. I don't know what's the matter with me. I am a little excited. I want to show you what I was doing and what I've been doing. I was out of town last weekend for my daughter's bridal shower, and I had so many things going on, and now I'm back in town and I still have some things getting ready for the wedding, which is coming up in 2 weeks, but I had to remember about, Samhain. We have Samhain in between here, so I had to come home and hurry, try to do Samhain, but we're going to put up our few things. I was so excited I got home, and my son-in-law picked me up at the airport, and my daughter and I, and they brought me home, and my husband met us at the door. He had fixed the porch up in the front all nice for me, put up, he painted, and he put up, he got some pumpkins, and he got some, put up this Halloween things, and oh, it was so fun. It was such a nice surprise. So that's cool. But anyway, I just wanted to talk to you just real briefly. If you were watching me in the past, you know that every time a Sabbath comes along, I do things just a little bit different every time. I don't do the exact same thing every year. It's just not my style because I really have to get the feel. What am I feeling for the Sabbath? What is my focus, or what is my, And this year for Samhain, rather than it is the final harvest, but rather than harvesting, I'm all about the ancestors, connected with the ancestors, connected with the spirits, the other world. Remember at Samhain the veil is very thin and between the worlds, and this is our opportunity to communicate with our ancestors. So a couple years ago I took you to a Dia de los Muertos event up in Olvera Street in Los Angeles. This year we're thinking we might do that again, not go to Olvera Street, probably maybe we might go to Old Town, San Diego, or we might go just one of the local ones around. Most local cities have some kind of celebration because there's a very heavy, of course, Hispanic population here. But not sure. But I really am connecting with the ancestors. I'm really connecting with people that have passed before us. So this is what I have been working on. I've been working on our altar here in this room. In the past, I've usually done my ancestor altar in our bedroom, and the altar in there. But because we have these young cats, these cats-to-jammer kids as we call them, because if we can twitch it, just one gets a good idea, a bad idea really, and the other one says, let's see if we make it worse, into a worse idea. Any trouble that they can get into, they will get into. So that was not something we could do. We still have the ancestor altar above the actual table, the shelves done with the photographs and things. Some of those things will be moving in here. At the end of this video, I will give you a little tour of the altar itself. I'm doing this a little backwards because I wanted to get my light. I was afraid that I was going to lose my light to film. So I wanted to get a light to show you what I had done so far on the altar. But now I'm going to tell you what I did. So I can't really show you how to do it, but I can explain what I did and why, if you're interested. I wanted to say as well, this is a really fun time. This whole idea of connecting with ancestors, remembering our dead. Tomorrow, my husband and I are going to an event, an SCA event. That's our medieval hobby people. And the theme of the event is Memento Mori, which is Memento Mori are things that remembering the dead, remembering your loved ones, those that have passed behind, through something, either in art, some kind of expression in art, or in jewelry. You'll see, I'm just going to hold this picture up. I don't even know if you can see it. I'm going to fold this if you can. This is a very famous woodcut, a picture of a woodcut. From a 15th century woodcut called Danse Macabre. Can you see? I don't know if you can see. But it's skeletons playing music. It's a band of skeletons. Kind of cool. But anyway, this event tomorrow, the Arts and Science Heart display, there'll be displays and some competitions probably, will all reflect Memento Mori of some kind. Use of maybe skulls or actual bones or hair or whatever in jewelry, in art, in what other kind of things? You know, wood carvings, all kinds of things. Cups, you know, dishes, those kind of things. So I hope to see some really fun things. The 14th century, which is my one true century, that's the century that my persona is from, was really very big time for this celebrating of the dead and talking about the dead coming and things, because of course, the plague. First of all, the 100 Years' War was during that time. There's a lot of things. There was famines, a lot of people dying, but the Black Death, the plague, which was killed about a third of the population of Europe, they guesstimate. It was so horrendous that, you know, the only way to deal with the whole horror of it was through kind of making fun of it. And we talked about that before. This is what very much the Dia de los Muertos theme, the Mexicans embrace that. They're making fun of death. They're embracing it, making fun of it in order to deal with it. So that is, we talked about that in the video. We'll go back to one of my earlier videos, and I talk about this. This Dance of Death, which came depicted in this woodcut here, was a manuscript. There was a song also called, which we're probably going to sing for some kind of a thing. It's called Ad Mortem Festinamus. Ad Mortem Festinamus. That's Latin, but it translates into something like, through life, as you patiently walk through life, you'll feel grim death behind you walk. He's stalking you from behind. Any moment he may snatch you. You never know when that may be. Good and bad alike he'll catch, so no one from this fate can flee. It's a really uplifting, cool song. So anyway, I'm all about the Memento Mori this time, all about honoring my ancestors, what I'm going to be doing to do that. And I will show you at the end of this video my thing. I can't really show you how I did it. It would have been a day-long video because I really spent most of the day working on it, but I can tell you very easily how I did it. The one thing that I did first, I started around a theme. Excuse me, I'm taking a drink. It's Friday, so don't judge me. I made some beads. I was watching a really cool video about beads. You know, I was getting some love beads out of my little box. Some of my love beads left over from 1970s, 60s, and 70s. And one string of beads that I have, I don't know if I have it in here or not. Let me reach and see if I do. It's not in here. Were actually made, the beads themselves were actually made from rose petals. There's a lot of jewelry in here. Not in here though. They're actually made from, you know, rose petals, which were dried, formed into little beads, and then strung. And in my case, it was strung on little wire, put on little wire, beaded wire. And I've had that now. That has to be, well, 40. Well, you know, close to 50 years. The late 60s, I probably got those. So it's close to 50 years that I've had them, and they're still really good. They're tiny. They're a little bit tinier than they were. Some of them are a little broken, but they're still very much intact. And it was my intention since I was making an ancestor altar, it was my intention to make beads out of rose petals. Now, I have a lot of roses. You know that I have a lot that I collect from my friend and from my own garden and from my neighbor's garden. I also have some petals that I collected from my parents. When my parents were alive and living here in California, on several occasions, my father sent roses to my mother when she came back to the assisted living home for the last time out of the hospital. He greeted her with roses. And I've kept those roses and dried them. And then, of course, there were some from her memorial, too. We had roses at her memorial. So I had kept them and dried them, and I have used them sometimes in some spell work, you know, love spells particularly kind of thing, when I want a little strength. But anyway, I thought, oh, maybe I'll make some beads. Well, I did some research on YouTube and found, you know, it takes a lot of roses, a lot of steps, a lot of days to make petals just from roses. It's easily done. It's not hard. It just takes a lot of time and a lot of petals. And I use rose petals for so many things, incense blends and spells and things like that, that I really didn't want to use all my petals. So I found another video of a woman making polymer beads out of clay, the kind you put in the oven, where she incorporated the rose petals into the bead. And that's exactly what I did. And she did, I'll tell you what I used. This is what she used. I can't remember her name. If I can remember her name, I'll be happy to direct you to it. But you can find it very easily. Let me move this out of the way. First I used a little kit, which she recommended. It came like this. I have it all apart. But it came like this. It's called a Sculpey bead making kit. It's about $10 or $11, something like that. And the reason I really like this kit was it came with, of course, the instructions, but it came with, I won't take it out of the bag because I've just got it back in the bag. But it has some fine sandpaper for sanding your beads afterwards. It has a little glass or plastic, I guess it's plastic, little thing, cutting board and roller and a little cutter and a tool to make the holes, and actually to make the holes in the beads, and a little cutter. Because and also a little mat like this, which is an actual mat that you put the beads on after you make them. You put them on this mat and bake them in the oven, just at a low oven for about, 45 minutes, something like that, 30, 45 minutes, until they're hard. And they came out really nice. At the end of this video, I'll show you. You'll see on my video. You won't maybe see them close up, but you'll get an idea. It just made little beads, and I made out of a package. I used this to make the actual beads. It's Fimo. Actually, this was the package I used, because this package of Fimo, something like that, and it's like, which is a couple dollars for that. It's called translucent. This is a translucent. So but they're really not translucent. It kind of looks great. But anyway, when you put the petals, so you can see the spots in there. They don't really, you're not supposed to hide. I don't know. I don't know. I can't compare it to any other kind. But anyway, that worked really well for my purpose. So I made a bead. I made beads, and what I did was, out of a package this size, and it has little, I can't take it apart, but it has the little, it's pre-scored into 8 little sections, and each one of those sections I made 3 beads out of. So I made 24 beads, and they're kind of big beads. You could make, if you want smaller beads, you could get more. But anyway, I made 24 beads out of one package this big, mixed with the crushed up, where I have in here, the crushed up roses. And this is from I have it everywhere. This is from one rose. And I still have all this left. So it was really an efficient use of the rose petal, of the rose. But, and it's not real red anymore because it's kind of old. But it still works lovely. And the rest of this I'm going to use in incense. I'll burn this on the altar with a couple other things added to it. for my incense for Samhain evening. But anyway, it was really, really satisfactory. I was really happy to do this. It was kind of fun to do. And I made a string of beads, which I used, which you will see in on my altar, that incorporated, did that go in there? The beads out of Fimo, the clay beads, with, that's going there. I also used some fake pearls, and I used some little glass. I had some little purple glass beads, you know, just things I had, because I wanted to make it a little bit of a, there's my cat back together. I wanted to make it a little bit of a, you know, I wanted it to look nice. I didn't want to just be the plain clay beads. So I strung, I used 8 of the purple beads for 8 representing the Sabbats, and then I had 24, like I said, 24 beads. I divided them into 3 and divided everything up, separated everything by that one of the little pearls, and it just looks kind of pretty. It's supposed to look pretty. Okay, so that was that. That's on my altar, which you will see. And the other thing that I want you to show is then what was my theme. My theme is the Memento mori I'm talking about. I want to do skulls. I did not want to just do a basic, you know, Dia de los Muertos ofrenda. I did not want to just have an altar to the dead like a typical one like I did in the past. I wanted this to really represent something special this year. So this year, I used the theme, excuse me, Maiden, Mother, and Crone. Instead of Maiden, Mother, and Crone, the 3 stages, I used mothers, fathers, and friends to represent the 3 groups of people who have passed from us. Mothers representing all mothers and grandmothers of both my husband and I, generations, the female generations who have passed. Fathers representing the fathers and the grandfathers of both of our families who have passed. And then friends, instead of maiden, I used friends because 3 of my friends, particularly, like I'm of course at the age where I'm losing friends left and right, with people that I went to school with, etc. So this is maybe why it's on my mind, but 2 of my very best friends and my sister-in-law, my first sister-in-law, both of my sister-in-laws are passed from my brother's 2 wives, they're both passed. But one of them, his first wife, and 2 of my best friends died very, very young. Very young. Very suddenly and very young. And so I wanted to represent the passing of the youth, you know, my friends, the youth. And even those of the friends that I'm remembering now that have passed, who are falling away now. Like my school friends, my memories are young. My memories are from when I was young. So I wanted to represent that on my altar. You know, the young friends, the mothers and grandmothers, the fathers and grandfathers. So what better way to do it than with skulls? Because of course this is the way we would do it in the Dia de los Muertos with the sugar skull, like I have here in my little plant here, and like I've showed you in the past. But this one was really fun. So I went to look and see what I could use. I didn't have an idea in my head. You know, I just went out and said, what can I use? What can I use? And I found the funniest things, these little skulls from 99-cent store. And I have to apologize to 99-cent store because I'm a snob about 99-cent store. I do not like our local 99-cent store. I do like the Dollar Tree for some things, but I really need that extra penny. The 99-cent store near us is usually just crap. I really do not like it. But the last 2 Halloweens I've gone in there, I've been able to find things. When the Dollar Tree has nothing left, not even Thanksgiving things, it's all nothing but Christmas. Which is really pissing me off. So, anyway, they had these little skulls that are kind of like a plaster. They're hollow. I just got an next one to show you. And in this case, this one has a little bat on his head. One of them had a cat on his head, and the third one had a bird, like a raven, a crow, on his head. well, I didn't really want anything on the heads, but I thought, well, the crow would be very, I like the crow because the crow, I kept that one for the skull using to represent the friendships that I've lost. Not that crow has, my bird is still very much a part of my world, and little bird is still out here. But I'm thinking to represent friendship, a strong bond between myself and the animals that have come into our lives. We have lost so many animal friends, many of those too soon, that I wanted bird to be symbolic for that. So I used a bird. I kept bird on the skull. And on that skull, I painted, you'll see, you know, love and peace signs and flower psychedelic kind of colors, and used my love beads and peace sign, my original peace sign that I wore, my medallion. I used that on the friends to represent the youth. Now, how did I get it off here? Well, I used a Dremel tool. And I just want to say, I'm taking it off. You had to just take it. You could probably use the bandsaw. You could probably chisel it off if you wanted. It's not that terribly delicate. You could leave it on if you wanted. Now, I'm not saying you should do this because this is, of course, something unique to me, something that I want to use. But in case you're wondering how I did it, I want to tell you that I used the Dremel tool. Just gradually, you know, cut that off, and then I used the sanding wheel to get it as smooth as I could. It left a few holes in the top of it. No big deal, because I was going to, what's a hole in a skull? I mean, skulls have holes in them, so there's nothing wrong with that. But I also was going to cover some of them anyway. I wanted to put something on there because I want to personalize it somehow to represent father, mother, friend. Like the friend, I said I painted the friends. The mother, you'll see when I show you, but the mother one, I made really lovely. I put like a crocheted, I glued a crocheted doily onto her head that I just got at Michael's. Cut it and put it on there with Mod Podge. As a little hat, I put a little earring of a cross because our mothers and grandmothers particularly were very religious, very Christian. So I put a little earring with a cross, and then I put a lovely flower in her hair and some glitter in her eyes just to pretty her up a little bit. And the father, we took off the top, and the father is kind of unique to my family because my father, of all people, was just, we have this joke about it. Robin Egg Blue, he always said his favorite color was blue, and everything he had was blue. His kitchen was blue, his cars were blue, everything was blue. But he always said Robin Egg Blue, and the funny part about it is he was kind of colorblind between blue and green. One of those, which is a very common thing for men, that they can't really distinguish between blue and green. And it was a great joke with my children when they were little, playing Uno with my father, because he didn't know what was blue or green, and it was just kind of funny. But anyway, so his skull, for representing the fathers, is has a Robin Egg Blue color to it. I painted it, and then I put some music manuscript on the cover part of the head, which kind of looks kind of cool, because both he and my father-in-law were very much, well, all the men in our family, very much lovers of music. My father-in-law very much a musician in his own right. My father, not a musician, but loved music and song and singing and instrumental music and dancing more than most people. So, that was just simply that. And then, of course, I'll show you the rest of the altar. Anyway, it was a really fun thing. It was just a fun thing to do. I love the idea of using the skulls, connecting with the ancestors. I'm real excited about that. My husband and I are both real excited about that. So, that's that thing I just want to share. One more thing, I think just one more thing before I go and show you my altar. When I took off the altar from I don't know, I guess I put this up at Mabon, the altar, representing the harvest, or llamas. I guess it was llamas. The first harvest, I put up this corn dolly. The corn dolly was not made this year. It was in the cupboard. It was made by either my husband or I at one time, and it's some kind of a public ritual where you do these little craft things. And we had a corn dolly, so we just kept it in the cupboard for another time, and we brought it out at llamas, I believe, and put it on the altar. Now, there's a lot of traditions associated with the harvest dollies. Some of them were left in the field. You know, they were just fashioned out of the last of the corn or whatever grain out of the leaves and left in the field. Others, they took the last bit of, when they did the very last harvest, they picked it up and took it, kept it inside in their homes until when they went out to plant again in the spring up at probably Imbolc, when they started talking about getting the fields ready to plant, which of course would come later, but Imbolc is the time when you get the first little hint of spring coming. Sometimes the dolly that was taken from the winter, from the final harvest, whatever, would be taken, or the first harvest would be taken into the house, kept, and then burned and put back into the ground as a sacrifice, as getting ready to the ground ready for the crops. Now, what I'm going to do with this one, since we do have two gardens, two seasons here in California, everything is out of my summer garden in the front, with the exception of my sweet potatoes. I have basil, a big basil plant that I'm going to harvest and make a lot of pesto and freeze, which is one of my favorite things to have in my freezer. But other than that, are the sweet potatoes out here. My chickens have discovered, and they're digging away, trying to get at them. I don't know if the sweet potatoes are ready in the back or not, but in the front, we're ready for most things to come out in the front garden. And then I'm going to burn, we're going to burn this corn dolly. Probably, we might burn it at the Samhain. I think we might burn it at Samhain. And then the ashes we're going to work back into the garden. Either that, or we will do it and work it in at, I think that's a little late, because I think we're going to get a garden. We're having, the reason I'm hesitating is because my winter garden may probably already be started, and it maybe should be, except we're having such heat, I can't even think about planting something. And this should be the end of the heat, after this weekend. Next week is supposed to be nice seasonal temperatures back into the 70s, so that's a good time to plant some of the things I want to do. So I think at that time, I think I'm going to be ending up burning this at Samhain, and then we're putting him back into the ground. Okay? It's just, there's a lot of traditions. Each tradition follows something a little different. That's okay. Whatever works for you. Whatever works for you. There's not one answer, remember? We're just doing whatever feels good to us. Okay, one more thing. I just want to show one more thing. I have a little sip. One more thing I want to show you. Another way that this year I am honoring my ancestors is, you might notice on my hands, I'm not sure if you do, but I've added some rings. I usually have very simply, don't wear a lot of rings. My hands are very busy. I don't like a lot of stuff catching on my hands and my fingernails or whatever. I keep everything cut and trimmed, and if my hands I use them as tools. They're very important tools, so I have to have, them free. But I added some rings. The beginning of October, I'm going to keep this throughout Samhain, coming up to Yule. This is one tradition which will stay until where my altar, probably the beginning of December, that altar will change to getting started preparing this one in here for Yule. This I'm going to keep until Yule starts. It's the rings. This is my father's wedding band and my mother's wedding band, and this is my father. It's actually my grandfather's mason ring, which I'm not supposed to wear. I know I'm not supposed to wear it. Don't write to me and tell me I'm bad because I'm wearing it. I don't care. I'm not claiming to be a member of the Masons, but the reason I'm wearing it is, this is not the ring. My father had his regular ring was kind of a gaudy looking thing from like this 1960s. It was pretty gross, or 50s. It's like a big yellow ring. But this ring is a very simple gold band with a small engraved symbol on the front. And it belonged to my grandfather. And this ring was so important to my father at the end of his life. when he would panic every now and then, go, where's my ring, where's my ring? He wasn't talking about his wedding ring, he was talking about this ring. It wasn't even his, it was his father's. It just meant a lot to him. And of course this is something I will pass down to my grandson eventually. But right now it just helps me feel really close. I'm just using it for this, you know, couple months, month and a half or whatever, and just to feel the presence of my family. It's just a way of connecting. I've never done this before. It feels really good, but it's just temporary. It's just like right now. I'm not gonna, you know, carry this on forever. You know, again, it's just something that I'm just going with what my gut is telling me right now, which is what I want to tell you. That's what you should be doing. Whatever you're doing to celebrate, whatever habit you're doing, just do what you feel like doing. Do what you feel like doing, because if you believe it, if you feel it, it's going to work for you. Okay? So that's really all I had to say. I have to go and get my dinner and get ready to go to my event tomorrow, and I want to get this up. I want to get this edited and up for you. I'm going to show you, which I've already showed you, you haven't seen yet. I'm going to show you my altar. And I hope you can see it. It's not a big deal, but I just hope you can see it, because I'm really pleased with it. Okay? So anyway, thank you very much for, oh no, I'm not going to say thank you for coming, because I'm going to say that in the next segment. So, I'm going to be right back. Just give me a minute. I'm going to cut here, and I will open up again with my Ancestor altar. Stay tuned. Okay, here's my finished Ancestor altar this year. Quite simple, very simple as compared to some of the years past. Again, the difference is I've moved it in here in the parlor, away from the Cats and Jammer kids. I still have the Ancestor altar, the shelves that I had in the bedroom. I still have that set up, but as far as the altar top itself, it is not being used for an altar right now with those kittens, 2 curious kittens. Always into trouble. Not a very good shot, I'm afraid. I'm afraid of the lighting here. But I just wanted to show you real quick how simple it is. It doesn't have to be, remember, nothing has to be fancy. It just has to be something that means something to you, okay? So as you can see, I'll step a little closer so you can see the things that I have on here. I've changed my altar cloth. I don't change it every Sabbath. I normally have a cloth for the light half and another for the dark half of the year. Sometimes more often, but mostly that's all I do in here. I either use a completely black scarf or I use this. This is a newer one I have here, the black and gold. I really loved it. Same pattern I have, and same salt bowl. There you can see my little bundle, little sage bundles in the back. I said I keep them on this altar all the time, so they're always charged, ready to go when I need them. I have an incense blend, and there's the matches I got when I was in Old Town. Remember I said, if you saw my video, you said that's something that I got, I really loved. And then of course, here I have waiting for, on Samhain, I will be putting out something here for the ancestors on for the Day of the Dead, for Dia de los Muertos. I'm not sure what yet. Probably this year it might be gingerbread. Ginger snaps or gingerbread. And some wine perhaps. Also, we use, there I have my hourglass. You know, I said the changing of you might have seen the previous video, when we change from one Sabbath to another, when we actually have a ritual, we do turn that glass ceremoniously so that it is the beginning of the new season. I have there a little skull I got there in San Diego. That's a little rattle skull sitting on top. Notice I like to change it up a little bit. I love to use these candle holders. You've seen me do this before. Either putting candles on them. This time I have a little candle holder with the hourglass and with the skull rattle on top to give it some height, just to show a little height. And then of course I've changed into black candles, and these are not real marigolds. These are artificial marigolds. Probably on Samhain I will add fresh flowers. This is one thing that I do a lot. I combine fresh flowers with silk flowers on my altars because I don't have enough light in here to keep the flowers nice all the time, but I do like the fresh flowers because remember when the ancestors come, it is the smell of the marigolds that is that's part of the clearing the way for the ancestors to come, the marigold attraction, smell of the marigold. So I will be also adding some of that to my incense blend for Samhain. This is just getting ready, but I do have the black candles ready to go. And this is the other thing I have combined. I don't know if you see here, I have the black candles, the real candles, and then I have down here, I use the tea lights, and in this case, I have one of those flickering battery tea lights, because for Samhain, I do like to keep things going all night, and I will be adding some of those to this altar on Samhain. Of course, we will use real candles earlier in the evening, but then I will keep these little battery guys on all night long. And I just noticed my arrows are still in my shot. Don't just disregard my arrows. I'm sitting to the side. Now, what I wanted to show you, the reason for this is I wanted to show you this, the finished Ancestor piece that I was working on with the skulls that I was talking to you about earlier. Here I have yet another candle holder, and this is the candle holder that holds 3 candles, candelabra. Can I get back there? You can see it's nice on a nice base. This year, it's holding my 3 ancestor skulls that I have decorated. And remember, this is why I had to drill out the bottoms, because they are on, there's little pokey things on there. But anyway, I have that. I have some more silk flowers. I'll come in closer so you can see how I finished the skulls. Instead of, I hope I can focus. Is that focusing okay? Instead of the maiden, mother, and crone, I have here representing the maiden instead of the maiden, mother. Well, I'm not going to say it that way. I'm going to say it left to right. I have fathers. These are fathers, grandfathers, representing the male ancestors, the fathers and the grandfathers. I have painted, I don't know if you can see, but this skull is robin egg blue, which was my father's favorite color, blue, and he always said robin egg blue, and he was kind of colorblind between blue and green, so it was kind of a family joke what robin egg blue was. But anyway, and then we have a little bit of manuscript, music manuscript, but can you see there on the head, representing both grandfathers too, because they were very much music lovers. My husband's father, a musician of his own right, and my father, just one of the greatest music appreciators of all time. So I have that for the fathers and grandfathers. In the center for mothers and grandmothers, I have a doily, a little lace doily crochet. They were all crocheters, all of my grandmothers, and except for my mother-in-law did not, but she had a lot of hand crochet doilies in her possession from her female ancestors. But we have, and I don't know if you can see it. Oh, I'll have to see if I can get it sort of fallen over. But she's sporting an earring, which is, where is it? Oh, there, a cross. There you can see it. Because all of our mothers and grandmothers were very Christian, very religious, as were our grandfathers and fathers. We have some lovely glitter in her eyes. Okay. Then in the last one, we have fathers and grandfathers, mothers and grandmothers, and in the last is friends. Remember I told you that we have lost quite a lot of our own generation. Starting at a very young age, I lost friends very young. High school, quite a few really good friends, including also sister-in-law, but 2 best friends who died very, very young. So I represented here the youth, the young, the friendship, going back to my youth. And of course we were, I don't know if you can see it, love and some flowers on the skull. I don't want to pick it up. And I left bird on this one. Remember I said that these came with, I showed you that these came with something on them, and I left bird because bird, it represents, of course, my relationship with bird, if you have seen those videos, and little bird, but also our relationship with all of our pets that have gone before us that we're welcoming back. And they're on that skull representing my friends and my youth, representing, I have my original, this is a string of love beads that I wore myself in the late 60s. And probably the beginning of the 70s. And there is the peace medallion that I wore as well. So those are something that I've had a long time and cherished. And finally, at the end of this are the beads, the rose petal beads that I made. And there's the finished strand. Rose petals. If I can get a little closer and just see them. Rose petals and fake pearls. These are just fake pearls that I had from a long time ago. And some kind of crappy, like, purple glass beads that didn't, you know, they were really good for nothing. But I have 8 of them, one representing each sabbat. And then I have 24 beads grouped in each sabbat. Groups of 3. 8 groups of 3 within each sabbat of love beads. So anyway, that's my little this year's offering. Also, of course, there's the wheel of the year represented in the back, which is a very big part of our celebration. So anyway, I'll just come back out. And if I don't step over my dog. So there it is. Simple, but very meaningful to me and very meaningful to my husband. So that's what is important. Like I said, there'll be some things added. I'll probably add some personal photographs coming up to Samhain of some of these people. Of course, more candles, maybe some other flowers. It's going to be quite a thing. If I get a chance, I'll take a picture of it, but probably, I don't know if I'll remember, since I almost forgot to show you this. Anyway, very, very simple. I apologize for the lighting if it wasn't really good enough to see, but I just wanted to share. At least I can tell you about it, okay? So, there we have it. Thank you very much for coming to my channel. Like always, I'm Rebecca, the Good Wife, and I wish you blessings and a blessed Samhain.